Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of a Smart Girls Google Hangout. Tonight, we are honored to have with us medical student and social entrepreneur Sejal Hathi. Hi, Sejal. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm just great. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm very happy to have you. Let's talk a little bit about your background
Sure.
because you are passionate and interested in so many great things. I know it's like global health and uh, global medicine, and probably just the list probably goes on and on. But tell us a little bit about your interest in biology and medicine. How did you know that that's the path you wanted to go on?
Sure. So, Meredith, I had always been incredibly interested in science. Biology always fascinated me. I knew from sophomore year of high school, actually, that I wanted to enter that field. Medicine specifically attracted me actually because of some personal health issues that I faced and the relationships that I developed thereafter with my physicians. And I began to realize, despite all the work that I aspired to do empowering women as social entrepreneurs, no woman, no girl could achieve her full potential if she was not first healthy. And I wanted to be able to ensure that all women, all girls, especially the most marginalized in developing countries, had access to the most fundamental of human rights, namely quality health care, in order for them to achieve their full potential.
Well, and that's an interesting kind of thing to think about. Are there examples of places where girls, women in particular, don't receive the things that they need to receive simply based on their sex, or is it more often an economic thing?
So I will tell you a story actually from my very early days of social entrepreneurship when I was working on my first organization, Girls Helping Girls. One of the very first projects that we attempted was building bathroom facilities in school districts in India where girls were too afraid to go to school, get an education, because when they came to that specific time of the month, they didn't really know what to do. They felt uncomfortable. They didn't have proper pads. They were made fun of. They suddenly became very sexual objects. And because they didn't have access to sexual education, to sanitary pads, essentially to healthcare, they were stymied from achieving their full potential. They could not continue their schooling. And so what we did is provide both sanitary pads and build bathroom facilities so they could do that. And again, that's an example of one way girls are excluded from education, are prevented from achieving their full potential, are decline quality healthcare because of their sex.
Wow. I think I read a great quote by you. I don't have it to read right in front of me, but um, it was essentially about like that you caught yourself, like you caught the fact that in certain parts of the world we have what others might define as privilege, and we don't really even realize, like for instance, the story that you were just saying, that there are girls who won't be able to have a good experience or be able to continue their education during the time they're menstruating because they haven't even learned about what it is, and much less do they have any of the supplies that most of us use just to be able to walk across the room or do anything. I mean, what's the importance of letting other girls know how many different experiences like that are out there?
All right, I
Okay.
apologize. I was muted. So what I was saying earlier is that the first step to effective social change is a cosmopolitan awareness of everything that's going on, of the types of challenges that are afflicting other people around us. And for girls, and so knowing that these problems exist, that other girls are facing these challenges, is, I think, a fundamental first step to then conceiving of possible solutions to those challenges. So to answer your question in brief, it's incredibly important.
Yes, but I like the not brief answers. when
Okay.
it comes to a good thinking person such as yourself. Let's go back a little bit just to you. We introduced you as a social entrepreneur. For those who don't know what a great category this is to aspire to, can you kind of talk about what it means to be a social entrepreneur?
Sure. So I subscribe to the philosophy embraced and really put forth into the world by Ashoka. For those not familiar with Ashoka, it's the largest network of social entrepreneurs in the world, founded by Bill Drayton, a wonderful human being and a good mentor of mine. And Ashoka declares that every person is a change maker. Everyone has the capacity to observe the world around them, notice what makes their blood boil, and take meaningful action around it. And that's essentially all a social entrepreneur is, right? A social entrepreneur is anyone who has the capacity to get angry, to get ticked off by the problems afflicting the world, and then take some sort of meaningful, sustainable action to address those problems. So really, you're a social entrepreneur by hosting this show. I'm a social entrepreneur because of the work that I do. Every girl that posts a Facebook status update that rallies her friends and says, because of the crises going on in the world, I'm raising money for this organization or that organization, or I'm going to be tutoring disadvantaged kids in my school district because of poor educational outcomes there presently. Anyone that notices a problem and takes an action is a social entrepreneur. We all are social entrepreneurs. We have just yet to realize that.
That's cool. That's interesting. And speaking along those lines, we definitely agree that you change the world by being yourself, your healthiest self, whatever that may mean, and by every action. We all have a place at the table of fighting things that are wrong, helping make things right. But sometimes a lot of the questions that we get most of the time are like, but what are real world, like practical things that I can do? Not writing a check, not just sending money somewhere, but without joining the Peace Corps and going overseas. So what are some real things that girls watch or young women watching can actually do to help others starting right tonight?
Sure. So there are a variety of ways of getting involved, right? The first is reading the news, making sure that one is
That's
fully
good.
informed and aware of all of the issues currently, or the challenges transpiring in the world. For example, watching this show. After that, there are a variety of paths that a girl can take, right? One, she can start a local project in her school district, whether this means educating other girls, other young people more broadly about these issues that she's learning about, holding a fundraiser coupled with an awareness benefit, holding a video screening that discusses, human rights abuses against women, holding an assembly at her school that brings in a speaker to talk about his or her personal experiences in the developing world, right? So there's the local part of this, and there are a variety of resources available for girls wishing to take this path, from Ashoka, from Do Something, from starting blog. There are several organizations online, and girls can tap into that immediately. Another route that a girl can take is joining an existing organization that's already taking action on this front. And one of my pet peeves with the social entrepreneurial industry more broadly is that there are too many organizations doing the same exact thing. Too much overlap, all of them seeking funding from the same foundations, the same philanthropists. And so one of the most, I think, effective efforts a girl can make toward making a difference on any one of these issues is figuring out which of those organizations espouses a vision that she agrees with, and then joining their cause and pushing forth their projects more specifically. One organization that I would recommend that takes action on education issues is She's the First, and they have a variety of chapters in colleges and in high schools across the country, all raising awareness about girls' lack of access to education and raising funds for specific schools in the developing world, helping those girls. So there's that route, joining an existing organization, and the final route is to launch some sort of organization, enterprise, movement of her own. Mm-hmm. And for this, the very first resource I would recommend after GirlTank, of course, is Ashoka, and Ashoka's youth venture program more specifically. So to sum it up, start your own organization, join an existing organization, or create a small-scale yet just as meaningful, potentially local project addressing that issue of concern.
Very good. That. I love all of that. And we'll, of course, we'll supply a list of these things either on our website or Facebook later on, just in case anybody wants quick access. Another thing, though, since you are interested in global health and you study medicine, and I think you've studied, what kind of biology did you study?
I studied molecular biology.
Molecular. I knew it was molecular. What do you think is the biggest health concern for young women globally?
So I think that I don't want to point to one in particular, to be honest. I think the one that catches the attention the most or is most prevalent in the news today is reproductive rights. Girls lack of access to reproductive and sexual health. But really what I want to emphasize is the lack of access to quality health care across all ages. So from birth to motherhood to old age. At every step of the process, women and girls are denied equal healthcare, quality healthcare, cost-effective healthcare. So rather than naming one issue specifically, I would rather say that this is a problem that plagues girls and women at every age.
I think that could be the one issue. You know, it is like everybody deserves the right to quality healthcare. And that is definitely something that we're going to look into here at Smart Girls to see about how we can help as well. I want to move into a couple of questions that we're getting in already.
Sure.
It's more than a couple, but I'm only seeing. I will read them to you in order. The first person wants to know, how can we move past hashtag activism and make a difference in the lives of women in need around the world?
So I would argue that there is a need for hashtag activism as much as on-the-ground, grassroots organizing. I think that we're very privileged in this day and age that we can reach wide audiences through social media, and we shouldn't neglect or avoid that means of organizing, if you will, taking action. So I engage quite merrily in hashtag activism. GirlTank does as well. This show does as well, and I would urge Danica, I believe that was the questioner's name, to continue posting on Twitter, posting on Facebook, retweeting the posts of organizations she cares about. But in terms of making a difference on the ground, as I relayed earlier, there are a variety of organizations that girls can or women can join. A lot of activities, a lot of events. A lot of year-round fundraising opportunities for girls and women to take part in. And of course, there's always the option of starting your own movement. If you look at all that's out there and say, hey, none of this fits my needs, I'd like to start something of my own, then go for it. There's no dearth of resources to support you.
That's great. And I totally agree with you. I think that that's a lovely way of putting it about hashtag activism. I like how you said that you merrily join in on it, because we do too. And I've learned a lot of stuff because of hashtag activism. I've learned so many things that I didn't know were concerns or happy things, so I like all of that.
And I think one of its greatest assets of hashtag activism that is the opportunity it allows us to interface with other people, to be exposed to new ideas, to new networks of individuals taking action. And I can honestly say that GirlTank would not have found some of its partners, a lot of its supporters, were it not for our embracing hashtag activism over the last few years. So definitely, I'm all for it.
I agree, and I think that same goes for the Smart Girls viewers and community as well. I think it's something that really brings us together as well. Okay, this is Karen. Karen would like to know, she says, I have 2 young daughters, age 5 and age 8. How could I get them involved in activism at an early age? How can I inspire them to take action?
Yeah, so Karen, I actually got my start in Girl Scouts. I didn't make it through all the ranks. I honestly don't know what all of the ranks are, but I was at least a brownie. And I remember that selling cookies taught me my first lessons about business enterprise. and engaging in camping taught me my first lessons about resilience and tenacity in the face of the unknown. Simply working and singing and playing with the other girls taught me the value of community and of standing up for what we believe in when it seems everyone else is against us. So I'm no ambassador for Girl Scouts as much as I'd like to be, but I will say that that's definitely a great organization to affiliate you and your family with when your girls are young. That's how I got started. And of course, have them read the news. Time for Kids is a great magazine, and that talks a lot about global issues as well. There's an organization called Random Kid, started by a fellow social entrepreneur, a girl I very much respect, named Talia Lamont. And Random Kid empowers very, very young children to both learn about the issues and to take action, meaningful action, to address them. So there's that organization as well. But mostly expose your kids to the world around them. Take them on trips. Help them travel. Don't just do touristy things, obviously. Let them see the real world. Read them the news and get them involved in organizations like Girl Scouts. I would say that's how I'd get 5- and 8-year-olds started.
I think that's a great answer. And Karen, you yourself could do the online Amy Poehler Smart Girls Camp, because that's where we do a lot of great campaigns that we get started that we encourage you to do with your kids. So that's another good one. But here, let's keep going now with these. Tara has a question for you. I'm going to college in the fall, and I'm not sure what I want to major in. Do you have any advice when it comes to finding your way in the education system?
Yeah, so that's quite a loaded question. I will say that I took the easy way out, to be honest, and I decided I was going to medical school. I knew I wanted to do that. I knew I was interested in science, and biology just seemed the natural fit for me. It fulfilled a lot of my pre-reg requirements while freeing up my schedule to dabble in other disciplines. But I would say, particularly your freshman year, explore. Take classes that look very interesting, even though they may seem incredibly arduous, difficult, potentially dangerous for your GPA. Take the classes that no one else is. Take classes just for the professors and see what interests you. Don't be afraid to try something new. I took, I think, my favorite class, well, one of my favorite classes throughout my entire career at Yale was a religious studies and a philosophy class. And of course, I'm doing nothing pertaining to those disciplines now, but simply being exposed to those new frameworks of thought, different worldviews, was incredibly enlightening, edifying, inspiring. In terms of navigating the education system more broadly, one of the most important steps that I took early on was finding mentors who are not afraid to tell me when I'm going wrong, when I'm veering off course, when I'm, in fact, moving in the right direction. Mentors who are willing to challenge me as well as embrace me for who I am. Even more important than selecting a major, I would argue, is finding the right mentors. So, find mentors in your area of interest, in administration, find mentors and older peers. That's what I would do, Tara.
I think that leads in very well to our next question for you from Arlene. Arlene would like to know, what social movements from history inspired you to found GirlTank? And maybe you could talk just for a second about GirlTank for anybody listening who doesn't already know about it.
Sure. So let me address that last point initially. First, GirlTank is a community hub and platform for young women entrepreneurs. Average age is 26, but we work with girls in their teenage years through age 40, actually. And this is a platform for young women to connect, to learn about global issues, and to take meaningful action in the form of launching and sustaining social ventures around those issues. So we provide funding, we provide a support network, and we provide online and offline educational resources to young women who really want to commit to growing a meaningful project in their local community. So in terms of social movements from history that kind of inspired my co-founder Tara Roberts and I to launch GirlTank, there isn't really one specifically, other than that I've already mentioned, which was especially meaningful to me, and that is the launch of the Everyone is a Changemaker movement in the 1980s through 90s by Ashoka, and specifically Ashoka's founder, Bill Drayton. I think that knowing that every individual has the capacity to do good for the world, to be a change maker, was incredibly inspiring to me as I was growing up, because especially in my teenage years, a lot of the issues that I was facing made me feel powerless, hopeless, not at all a valuable citizen. And so just reading about all the, for example, Ashoka fellows that had taken action, that had defied all odds to make a difference for those causes they cared most about, was incredibly inspiring and uplifting. And that's what GirlTank is all about, you know, creating a movement of young women that redefine what it means to be a woman in this world, as well as that demonstrate the incredible power women have when they work together to make a difference for the greater good.
That's such a good answer. And how would somebody, like if I wanted to become a mentor, what's the best way for me to let it be known that I'm available?
If you want to be a mentor, when you get that email or that Facebook message from a girl asking for help, or from anyone really inspired by your work, respond, agree to coffee, have a phone call. I think that that's the very first step. Just show that you are indeed available. And of course, if you'd like to take a more activist approach to being a mentor, school programs, schools offer a lot of programs for mentors to get involved. Organizations like Vital Voices offer opportunities. GirlTank is looking for mentors for its own GirlTank fellows, our social entrepreneurs. So if you do a quick Google search for organizations or school programs that you're interested in, you'll likely find a number that are looking for mentors, are in actually desperate need for mentors. I think the greatest challenge in this space is people simply don't know how to get involved. I think you hit it on the head. But if you do a quick Google search and you simply show that you're available if people do reach out, agree to those coffees, then that's the very first step that you can take.
Very nice. Okay, Greg has a question for you. While working as a social entrepreneur, have you had any of your beliefs challenged by the people you were helping? What have you learned from the women you've helped?
That's a very good question. Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of our beliefs challenged. I think that I will relay another story from my Girls Helping Girls days. Funnily enough, this also has to do with sanitary pads. And I remember that there was, I believe it was Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble released a TV advertisement 3-4 years ago now that seemed to claim that sanitary pads were a girl's ticket to a happily ever after. You know, as soon as a girl got a sanitary pad, she'll definitely go to school, she'll complete her secondary education, and she'll become the breadwinner for her family. That was the message intimated by this TV advertisement. And so my team and I, incredibly excited to watch this advertisement, began collecting stockpiles of sanitary pads and reaching out to various teams around the world, teams of girls that were involved in our programs, asking which might be in need. And we received one email from one of our team leaders, a 22-year-old in Kenya named Josephine. And she said, you know, it's very kind of you to be shipping all these sanitary pads, but what we really need is a cultural shift, not this quick fix solution, because sanitary pads almost foist the problem onto a woman, make the problem of lack of access to education a symptom of like women's sexuality, and it's not exactly that. The problem is far more fundamental, and we need to remove the stigma of what it means to be a sexual being in order to make a meaningful, sustainable difference in this field. And so here we were thinking that we were going to save the day by, you know, obviously raising money and shipping sanitary pads, but what we needed to do instead is encourage a much deeper, longer conversation about what it means to be a woman. and what it means to go through this critical period in girls' adolescence. And that's probably the most important lesson I learned growing up as a social entrepreneur, particularly if trying to affect or impact the lives of girls thousands of miles away. I didn't understand then all the cultural nuances of the problems that they were facing.
Yeah.
And before attempting to jump into any new community, I think that it was critical for my team members and I to ensure that we understood the cultural, social dynamics of the situation. And oftentimes, to be very honest with you, we did not, and that caused a lot of problems, particularly as we were trying to grow the organization and infect ever greater numbers of girls around the world.
So how do you handle that? How do you now pick up on the cultural nuances to know exactly how to handle your communications?
Yeah, so the organization that I was just discussing, Girls Helping Girls, was one that I started at age 15 in high school, and it was run completely by girls for girls. We actually prided ourselves on that premise and on its exclusively youth leadership. With GirlTank, instead of being run by girls in the United States, for girls around the world, what we seek to do is actually empower local leaders. So we source the most promising young women change makers, again, average age is 26 around the world, and provide them the resources, the network, the funding to galvanize awareness about the issues that they care about in their community and curate and train the next generation of young women leaders in their community to take action. So instead of kind of foisting our own model of social change on these young women, we talk to them. We ask them what they're interested in, what their philosophy is, and we help them take action on that front. So it's all about empowering local leaders.
Well, Naomi has.
Go on.
I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No. I was rambling on. I'm done.
Oh, I didn't think. Well, just because we're getting close to the end, I want to make sure we include Naomi's question, which is, how do we involve men in these conversations? How can we get them involved?
Oh, please. That is a critically important question. I'm very happy, Naomi, that you posed it. Men in a lot of the communities in which we work are the gatekeepers to change, right? We talk a lot about empowering women to take action, to link arms, to speak up for their rights, but if men don't agree, if the broader society doesn't listen, then nothing is going to be sustainable. And so it's actually very important that we engage men in those conversations. And one way that I used to do this with Girls Helping Girls is host community meetings with girls and boys and families as a whole to talk about these issues, why they're important, why we need to economically empower women. I think one of the greatest cases for this that's now being promulgated by institutions, for example, like the World Bank, is that women invest 90% of their income back into the family, men invest 30%, right? And if a woman is making money for her family, is allowed to be educated, is allowed to work, the family as a whole is better off, the kids are better off, and therefore the community is better off. And simply educating men, families as a whole about, I think, the benefits of engaging women is a very effective step we can take to moving them to get involved, to bringing them into the fold. So I would say raising awareness is probably how we can best get them involved. In our programs around the world, we've done that, again, by holding assemblies, focus groups for both girls and boys. Here at home, we can do that as well. Just ensure that, men don't feel excluded. We've gotten a lot of requests from men, boys, young boys, to get involved in GirlTank, and they ask, it's called GirlTank, or it's called Girls Helping Girls. Does that mean I'm not allowed to get involved? And the answer is no. Every person can be a feminist. I know that word is incredibly controversial, but every person can care about women's rights, both girls and boys, and we need you
right.
as much as we need each other.
That's so right, and it's a shame that the word feminist is controversial, because it shouldn't be. I'm a proud feminist, and I totally agree. We get the same thing with Smart Girls. We get people that say, "Does that mean I can't be involved?" We say, "No, everybody is welcome here." So we agree with you about all of that. Um, Sejal, what do you have coming up that you're looking forward to?
Sure. So one of GirlTank's major milestones that I'm very much looking forward to is the release of our digital magazine. So if you visit www.girltank.org, you'll see a link to subscribe to what will be a quarterly magazine featuring stories of young women, female social entrepreneurs around the world who are driving innovative change in their community. It's one of the most inspiring collections of stories I've had the privilege to read, and I would urge everyone listening to check it out. Another, I suppose, event or next step that I'm looking forward to is my second year of medical school. So I know we didn't discuss this much, but I just finished my very first year, and I'm excited to return to classes, see my community of friends, and get immersed once more in that experience. And I would say that once more, I'll be celebrating my parents' anniversary, wedding anniversary very soon as well. I wouldn't be who I am or where I am today without them. They're the two most beautiful, wonderful individuals on this planet, and I'm very excited to celebrate their marriage with them. So those are probably three things that I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh, that sounds great. That is so all of those are really wonderful. I'm so glad that you had time to talk to us and to all of our viewers, all the people watching. You are doing wonderful things. You're using your heart and soul and brain, and you're showing us all how to do that very well. So thank you very much for
No,
everything that you do and for being here.
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Well, I look forward to getting the magazine. I'll go click on it right after this.
Oh,
Thank
yeah. Thank you.
You are changing the world by being yourself, and you're being a wonderful, smart girl. So stay in touch with us, please.
Will do. Definitely will do.
Okay, well, go and have fun and tell your parents happy anniversary.
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.